Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to all. So in the last few lectures, we have been studying about the semiconductor properties, and we have seen so far the phenomena how the energy band gap is created, and what is the theory behind the energy bands, and then after that we try to look at some fundamental semiconductor equations. And in the last lecture, we tried to look at N-type and P-type semiconductors, which are extrinsic in nature, that is, we are doping with some impurity. So these are essentially the extrinsic semiconductors, and the doped one. So doped semiconductor is extrinsic in nature, and which is undoped, that we call as intrinsic semiconductor. So intrinsic semiconductor is undoped. So in the undoped semiconductor, we have seen that there is something intrinsic carrier concentration, which may be there due to the thermal agitation. Okay, so due to temperature energy, thermal energy, uh, some electron hole pairs may be generated, and they contribute to the intrinsic carrier concentration. So we also saw that they are related with the mass action law. We have seen that due to charge neutrality, the total p type are positive charge and negative charge. They are equal in amount, and using the mass action law, we can actually find out approximate concentration of the other charge carrier. Say we take n-type semiconductor here. In the n-type semiconductor, if we doped with say nd number of dopants, okay. So nd is actually number of the donor atoms per centimeter cube, which are uh, doped into the pure semiconductor, so that they become n-type. So how they become n-type? Each of the donor atoms, they can contribute to one electron each with a very small thermal energy. So in that way, the electron concentration is going to be approximately equal to Nd. Why it is not exactly equal to? Because there is some electron hole pair generated due to thermal agitation equal to Ni, and this is Nd is the due to the doping concentration here. So doping actually is very large as compared to the Ni concentrations. That's why the Ni concentration is negligible as compared to the number of electrons contributed by the dopants here. That's why we say that it is almost equal to Nd, but not exactly equal to. If we insist to compute the exact say electron concentration in n-type, then in that case we have to add Nd plus Ni. That is going to the going to be the exact number of the electrons in n-type, but Ni is very less than Nd. Let us say that the order of the concentrations and say values here, say order of the values of Ni and Nd. So Ni is around 10 power 10 per centimeter cube, whereas Nd, the normal dopant concentrations are say more than 15, 10 power 15 per centimeter cube. So we can see that almost 10 to the power 5 times difference in concentration is there. That's why it becomes negligible. Okay, so 1 in say 1 lakh. Okay, so that's why we approximate here. Once this is approximated, we actually also calculate the approximate number of now holes. This is not exact, but the approximate number of holes using the mass action law. Similarly, for the p type of semiconductor also we can do the same way. In the p type semiconductor, the acceptor doping is done, and each of the acceptor atoms are assumed to release one or contribute one hole each, and so approximately the whole concentration is going to be that of the acceptor atom concentration. And again, using the mass action law, one can find out the electron concentration in the p type. So the higher concentration, okay, the carrier which is having the higher concentration, that is called as majority charge carrier. Let us look at this also terminology. Majority charge carrier, whereas the concentration, the least concentration carrier is called as the minority charge carrier. So this is say minority here. Okay, so in the p type the holes are majority and electrons are minority. Similarly, for n type the electrons are majority here and holes are minority. Okay, so we can see that majority characteristic is almost equal to the doping concentration, either it is n type or p type. Other things already we have discussed. So total current also we have seen. Another thing we have seen in the last lecture. Please mute yourself. Einstein relationship says that the diffusion constant and mobility both are statistical thermodynamic phenomena and related, and so the ratio of both are equal to a constant value equal to the thermal equivalent voltage. Total current also can be given, which is nothing but drift current plus diffusion current. Okay, diffusion current. So whole current and electron current may exist together, and separately we can compute their contributions, and total current can be found by adding both the values here, okay, Jp and Jn together. So total current density we can find out in this way. We also saw this continuity equation. Today we intend to proceed further and see how the potential is going to vary in a graded semiconductor. Graded semiconductor is that semiconductor in which is non-uniformly doped. So this is a semiconductor which is non-uniformly doped. What we mean by this non-uniformly doped? So far what we have seen that when we talk about say ND doping or Na doping in a pure silicon, okay, pure semiconductor, then in that case it is said, it is assumed that everywhere we are putting the same okay, the dopant concentration is everywhere identical, and that is uniform doping. So discussion so far which has happened, and that is based on the uniform doping. Here it is another case in which, say, one is doing the non-uniform doping. So at different locations, the doping concentration may be different. Okay, so let us assume that this is a p-type semiconductor here, which is non-uniformly doped. It means the doping concentration at say location x1 is different, maybe say Na1, and at x2 it may be Na2, which may lead to different uh, this carrier concentrations. Say at location 1, whole concentration may be P1, and at location 2, it may be P2. Okay, so we have seen one thing in our discussions, that if we have a concentration gradient, then there is a diffusion current in that. Here, suppose we can see that here we are not connecting this to any external circuitry. Okay, so that the circuitry is complete and the current may exist. So diffusion current is mandatory here, since we can say there is none uniform doping. So one side carrier concentration is more than the other side. So we can expect due to the concentration gradient a component of diffusion current in this case. But because there is no external connections here, so there is no current possible actually. Okay, so in equilibrium condition, we expect that there is no net current. However, our theory says that because there is non-uniform doping, and hence there is a difference in concentration of the charges between two locations, so there should be some net flow of charge carriers from one end to another end, which will create the so-called diffusion current. So we expect a non-zero value of diffusion current here. So diffusion current may be due to the hole as well as electron. Why electron is coming to picture? Hole one can directly relate here to the doping concentrations Na1 and Na2. So P1 and P2 is different, but we should not forget that the minority charge carrier concentration here in this case, because we have considered this as a p-type. So in the p-type semiconductor, the other carrier, that is electron, becomes the minority charge carrier. This can be found by using the mass action law, Ni square upon this Na. So at location 1 it is Na1, and at location 2 it is Na2. Okay, so we can see that that's how this concentration at locations 1 and 2, that are the electrons, will also vary. So we don't expect only the whole current, but we expect the electron current as well. So diffusion current is non-zero because of the theory, but in steady state condition, we also are sure that there is no net current possible. So how can this happen together? It means there must be an equal and opposite current of current component, okay, which neutralizes this diffusion current. Okay, so we now at this juncture expect that there must be a conduction current, okay, forced current, which requires some electric field due to non-uniform doping. The genesis of this electric field is nothing but the non-uniform doping again. So we expect this to also happen, that equal and opposite current must exist which neutralizes this diffusion current component, and for this forced current or conduction current we require electric field. So the non-uniform doping also is going to induce an electric field into this non-uniformly doped semiconductor. So that is very important. So in the previous equations, if we put say for whole current Jp is equal to 0, similarly we can also put the electron current Jn to be equal to 0 separately. Okay, we can just go back a little while and see here the total current. The whole current is drift current plus diffusion current. So now we expect a drift current in our case in equilibrium condition. So that the total current Jp or Jn they become 0. Okay, so that's what we expect over here. So if we say take one and say whole current, for total whole current putting 0 gives electric field, but electric field can be written like this: negative gradient, negative of the voltage gradient is defined as electric field. So we can substitute for it here into this equation and rewrite the equation in this form here, and integrate this equation from point 1 to 2. Okay, so at location x1 say voltage is b1, and at location x2 say voltage is b2. So we can from here can get this voltage difference also between these 2 points. So electric field existence also implies that there is a potential difference also between these 2 points. Okay, so we can expect this potential difference between these 2 points if we take the non-uniform doped semiconductor. So P1 and P2, these are approximately in this case say equal to Na1 and Na2, the doping concentrations at location 1 and 2. So in that term also we can find out this. Okay, so now from this discussion what is revealed that if we are having a graded semiconductor, that is non-uniformly doped semiconductor, then this can be the case here. And we can see that the potential difference between any 2 points in the semiconductor which is in equilibrium condition leads to a potential difference, and of which value depends on the concentration of the carriers at those locations. If on the other hand, in place of equating the this whole current component, suppose one equates this Jn, then also a similar equation can be found for this in terms of the electron concentration as well. Okay, so that can also be done. This particular equation can also be rewritten in a very nice form like this here. If we rewrite this equation as V21 upon Vt is equal to log of P1 upon P2 say, and if suppose we take anti-log both sides, then it may be written as P1 is equal to P2 times exponential V21 upon Vt. So actually the same equation has been written in a different format, but this gives a very good knowledge. What is that knowledge? Say we have a piece of semiconductor. We choose 2 points between the semiconductor and somehow say have the knowledge of the potential difference between these two, that is the potential of second point with respect to the first point b2 minus b1. And if we also have the knowledge of the say concentration at p2, then in terms of p2 with the help of this p2 and b21 knowledge, we can find out the concentration of the carriers at point 1. Okay, so that this can also be done here from this equation.
सर
Yes.
सर वहाँ पे VT क्या था सर?
Okay, bt, we have been calling this bt is equal to kt by q. K is Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature, and small q is the unit charge. Okay, this is also called as um, temperature equivalent voltage. Okay, is that clear?
Yes sir.
Okay. So now let us take a step ahead. Potential variation in a step graded semiconductor. What we mean by step graded? In the graded semiconductor, we have non-uniform doping. Okay, between the semiconductor is of the same type here. Say throughout we have taken this as a p-type semiconductor. Only the concentration of the dopants are varying with distance along some direction here. For simplicity here, we have chosen that this was varying along x here, say, and considering that we developed that. Now in this here step graded, there is a abrupt change in the doping concentration at some location. So just like in this case here, on one side we have a p-type semiconductor, on the other side we have the n-type of semiconductor. On one side we have say doping Na, and on the other side we have doping Nd. So that is here acceptor atoms, and this is donor atoms here on the other side. So we have a abrupt change in the concentration of the carriers. Okay, so in that in this type of semiconductor is called step graded semiconductor. Later we will see that this is nothing but the basis of the PN junction. So essentially this is PN junction here, but we are not talking in that sense right now. We are now only interested in looking at the similar reasoning as we have done earlier. That suppose this is left in equilibrium condition, then again there will be no net current through it as in the earlier case, and because there is now again abrupt okay as opposed to the previous case, here we have abrupt change in the concentration of the charge carriers, but other things are almost same here. So again there is the difference in carrier concentrations between two sides. So again we expect diffusion current to prevail, and because the system is in equilibrium, so there is no net current again. So equal and opposite current, which we call as drift current, must be there, and that current can exist only due to the presence of an electric field. So same theory also applies in this case. Everything is the same one. Only now in place of this P1 and P2 we have to look at. So in the previous case, the P1 was the majority carried concentration. Okay, one type of carried concentration on, say, uh, one at point 1, and this P2 was at point 2. Now the point 1 and point 2 have changed here. So the point 1 at 1, we have still the P type semiconductor. So the P1 can be written approximately equal to Na. But at location 2, if we look at, then it is no more P type, it is N type. So in N type, we have the concentration of the electrons at location 2. Say this is going to be approximately equal to Nd here. But this equation expects this whole concentration rather at location 2. So at location 2 now, the hole is minority charge carrier, uh, which can be found with the help of the mass action law, which says that, let us say that at point 2, N2 P2 should be equal to Ni square. Okay, so N2 is almost Nd, so P2 at location 2 can be written as Ni square upon N2. Okay, so Ni square upon N2 means Nd right now. Okay, so P2 now in our case, this case becomes Ni square upon Nd. So if we replace this, this equation becomes Bt log of P1 is the Na upon now Ni square upon Nd. Okay, so this right side becomes this one, and this is B21. We can rewrite this equation as B2 log of Na times Nd upon Ni square. So this is B21. This is very actually important result of this discussion, that when we have step graded semiconductor, uh, where the concentration of the charge carriers abruptly change from one type to another type, then there exists a voltage difference between these two uh, okay, these if we choose some 2 points between the in this system, then the potential difference between those 2 points is going to be calculated by this particular equation. This particular equation, this value has sometimes called as V0, or sometimes it is also called as V gamma. We will see. Or most sometimes this is also called as cut in voltage, or sometimes it will be also called, when we will discussing about the PN junction, as knee voltage, KN knee voltage. Okay, so this has got many names. but we should be clear here that whenever there is a difference in concentration between two points, and then we expect a diffusion current, and to counter that diffusion current in the equilibrium condition, we must have a drift current, and drift current exists only due to the electric field, and whenever there is electric field, there will be a potential difference between those points. Okay, so that is the basis of this discussion here. So is there any question so far? Okay, so if there is no questions, okay, so then we can proceed further and look at our first semiconductor device now, that we uh, know as which is widely known as PN junction. So let us now understand qualitatively and maybe quantitatively also the formation of something called as depletion region and something called as barrier potential. So it will lead that this potential which we have just calculated for a general case of step graded junction, that is nothing but also called as barrier potential. Okay, so the case is depicted over here very nicely. On one side, on the left side, okay, we have the p-type semiconductor. On the right side, we have n-type of semiconductor, and these are put it together. Okay, so so the thing is like this here. On one side we have p-type, and on the other side we have n-type, and we just make a physical contact between these two, say. Okay, so one side we have holes in majority, and on the other side we have the electrons in majority. Okay, so that is shown by, say, negative signs here on the right side, the existence of the electrons, and some bubbles, okay, dark bubbles on the left side that represent the holes. In between, we can also see on the right side, say, these dark bubbles here. These are nothing but the holes. Okay, and these negative signs, okay, these are the electrons. So in the n-type, if we talk about, then we have the electrons shown by the negative signs here, and the dark bubbles here called as holes. Okay, so electrons are the majority charge carriers, and holes are the minority charge carriers here. Similarly, on the left side, if we look at, then the dark bubbles, okay, these are in many numbers. So these are holes which are majority carriers, and there we can see some negative charge and negatives here also. And these are the electrons, the minority charge carriers. There also we can see some positive charge on the right side within a circle. Okay, so what are these? These are nothing but the donor ions. So this is nothing but the donor ion. Donor ion means the donor atoms have given one electrons each, and they have become positively charged. Okay. Similarly, on the left side, there is negative signs within circle. They represent the acceptor ions. So these are acceptor ions. Okay. So now we can see what are the different things which are present in this okay system of P and N kept together. So on one side, holes are in large quantity here. So, and on the other side, electrons are in large quantity. So, as already discussed, that because we can see that there exists a concentration gradient. So, holes will try to go from left side to right side, and similarly, the electrons from the right side, they will try to come to the left side like this. Okay, so there happens momentarily a transfer of carriers here across this boundary. I discussed earlier, uh, to because this system is in equilibrium condition. Okay, that means there is no net current as shown in the below diagram. And this ID, something called as ID, is 0. So there is no net current across this system. So there must exist an equal and opposite and drift current as well here. Okay. Let us see now for the qualitative discussion here, what essentially is happening inside this. So drift current, uh, let us see whether that is there or not. In our case, so momentarily what is happening, the hole when goes from left to right, or and the electron comes from right to left, then closer to this physical contact between these two materials, this starts early because they are closer to the boundary. So as the electrons leave from right and go to the left, what happens? The air becomes uh, uncompensated. We can say donor ions on the right side, just at the right side of this boundary, and on the left side we have acceptor ions. So let us represent these by Nd plus and Na minus. So Nd plus means donor ions, positive donor ions, and A minus means the acceptor ions. Okay, negatively charged acceptor ions. So there starts building up of these kind of charges across this physical boundary between the N type and P type. We must note down at this moment that there, if there is existence of two charges on one side positive, other side negative, then there will exist an electric field. Electric field has to exist. Okay, and the orientation of the electric field will be from positive to the negative. So this is the law of physics. So due to this electric field, oh, okay, what we see that the electrons which are going from right to left, they will feel a force. Okay, force is equal to Q times E. in the opposite direction to the electric field. So force will be now from left to right, okay, opposite to the direction of the electric field. So it will appear as if this field is opposing the further movement of the charge carriers. But the charge carriers keeps on moving until and unless the energy of this electron uh, is such that it is not able to overcome this force here. So if the energy of the electron is uh, enough, then the moment will keep on happening until this is countered by this electric field. So as more and more electrons goes, this electric field strength increases. Okay, keeps on increasing. This electric field strength will keep on increasing, and there will be a situation in which this electric field is so large that it stops for any further movement of this electron across this region. Okay. Now, so in this case, what we see after certain time that there creates a region across this physical boundary of which one side we have the exposed donor ions and on the other side we have the exposed acceptor ions. So on one side we have Nd, on other side we have Na. Okay, and electric field exists here from N side to the P side, and it stops the any further movement of the electrons across this. So now in this condition, because the electric field is there must be a potential difference between these two regions. Okay, so between these two regions there must be this potential difference. So suppose the potential at P side is Bp and it is here Vn. We can expect a potential difference Bp minus Vn, which will be defined as V naught or V gamma and can be computed as earlier. Okay, so that can also be done, or also we can take the help of so-called as Gauss law or Poisson's equation. Any of these can help us to compute the electric field strength, the potential difference between these 2 points that can be computed with the help of any of these. Okay, what will be interesting that the same set of equations will be resulting. Yes, any query? Okay. So we see here qualitatively that initially there is a transfer of charge from one side to another side, and after due to this charge transfer, there is a building up of donor ions and acceptor ions across the boundary, which induces the electric field, and this electric field keeps on growing in strength with further transfer of the charges across the region, and there happens a case when electric field is so strong that it stops the any further movement of charge carriers. One thing must be noted here, the electric field, due to the electric field existence, what happens if there is any electron or hole appeared in this region? Due to electric field, they will see a force, electric force, and because this is so strong, so it will sweep across these charge carriers. Okay, electron and holes will be swept across this region, and they will be pushed into the N region or P region. And we expect no carrier to stay in this region where we have the uh, in this donor ions and acceptor ions. In this region, we expect that there stage no electron or hole or mobile charge carriers in general. So in this region, we don't have any mobile charge carrier. That's why this region has also got a very good name. Okay, depletion region. That's why this is called a depletion region. Okay, so this region is depleted of mobile charge carriers. So qualitatively, we understood here this phenomena here. The transfer of charge carrier is for a very small fraction of time. Okay, and is almost 10 to the power minus 30 or 31 seconds. That kind of uh, time I think it takes. Okay, so that is too small to be observed here. Okay. Okay, so there are some remarks here. We will see later on what these remarks are. We can use the Poisson's equation here along with electric field definition to compute the electric field. Okay, so this is the Poisson equation, and this is the electric field definition here. And by integrating this between point 1 and 2, as earlier, we can find out the potential difference between these 2 points. So this is just some mathematical manipulations here, and taking the some boundary conditions here. So boundary conditions are such that electric field is okay going to be 0 at the boundaries here. The electric field will exist actually where in the region where we have the exposed charges, and the electric field is going to vanish outside of this region. Okay, so say in this region we expect the electric field. So we can see that electric field becomes 0 either side here, and high is maximum here. Okay, the diagram here shows the diagram B here. Okay, shows the charge distribution in the depletion region. So on the N side we have the positive charge concentration, and on the left side we have this negative charge carriers. Okay, these are due to the acceptor ions, and these are due to the donor ions. So we can see the potential electric field and potential variations to be like this here. Now if we look at the electron on the N side, that sees a kind of potential barrier here, potential barrier or energy barrier. Okay, so the diagram A E is showing the energy diagram here. Energy of the electron. Okay, let us understand this very important fact. Energy of electron is nothing but minus q times voltage, QB. Okay, if it were the positive charge, then it would have been plus q times v, and because this is electron, so minus q times v, because the electron possesses the negative charge, and q is the unit charge. Okay, so we can see that expect the except this scaling factor q, the energy variation is similar in nature to that of the potential variation, but opposite, just opposite to that. So it is easy to understand here in this energy barrier. Okay, sorry, in the energy graph here, that if electron is found in the n side, then it sees a kind of this potential barrier. Okay, so electron needs to given an energy equal to this barrier height to make it available on the other side, so that it can go from right to the left side. Okay, so energy is needed. So that's why the flow of the electrons stops, and so is the case for the holes. Okay, so electron and hole both stops, the flow of both stops, and we can BC an electric field to be induced, a potential difference to be induced across this boundary. Okay, across this boundary. So because of this very nature, this is also called junction. Okay, so there forms a junction which is nothing but the P and N regions are separated by a depletion region, and a potential barrier appears, or we can say that energy barrier. Okay, potential barrier or energy barrier uh, is induced, which stops the further movement of the charge carriers across this region. So this is how a junction is formed, and because in the formation of this junction, P and N type of materials are involved, so this is also called as P N junction. So this is very important, one can say, phenomena happening in the semiconductors when two different types of semiconductors are kept together. We shall stop here, and we will continue in the next lecture from here. If there is any query, you can ask, else we can stop over here.